You know, as many of you know, before I was elected as vice president, before I was elected as United States Senator, I was the elected Attorney General, as I've mentioned, of California, and before that I was a courtroom prosecutor. In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
Vice President Kamala Harris gave her first speech as the assumed nominee of the Democratic ticket at a campaign event at the campaign headquarters in Delaware, and I have some clips. You're going to notice here a clear difference, obviously, between this speech and what we've been used to seeing from Joe Biden. I'm also going to get to the big record-breaking fundraising from the Harris campaign, as well as at the end of this video, I'm going to combat an argument that I've been hearing as it applies to Kamala Harris's chances against Donald Trump. But first, here is a clip from the speech.
As a young prosecutor, when I was in the Alameda County District Attorney's Office in California, I specialized in cases involving sexual abuse. Donald Trump was found liable by a jury for committing sexual abuse. As Attorney General of California, I took on one of our country's largest for-profit colleges and put it out of business. Donald Trump ran a for-profit college, Trump University, that was forced to pay $25 million to the students it scammed. As district attorney, to go after polluters, I created one of the first environmental justice units in our nation. Donald Trump stood in Mar-a-Lago and told big oil lobbyists he would do their bidding for a $1 billion campaign contribution. During the foreclosure crisis, I took on the big Wall Street banks and won $20 billion for California families, holding those banks accountable for fraud. Donald Trump was just found guilty of 34 counts of fraud.
I don't know about you, but over the past 24 hours, I have felt like this weight has been lifted. I'm not sure I really realized how depressed I was about the state of the world, and I realized I was depressed about the state of the world, but I'm not sure I realized how depressed I was until Biden decided to drop out and endorse Kamala Harris, opening the door for some actual hope. Now, look, I understand. I know. This isn't the idea of Kamala Harris. Even if she wins, it's not going to solve the world's problems. But it is at the very least going to prevent things from getting a lot worse than they would definitely be under Donald Trump. And I don't just mean for the U.S., I mean for the world. So to see someone like this who is not only so much better than Joe Biden, for obvious reasons, you know, his age being a major factor, so much better than Joe Biden at delivering a speech like this. Also, it's also the fact that she is the perfect person to go up against Trump in this moment. Being able to contrast herself against Trump's record like this is going to be a key part of the campaign, I imagine, as it is so, there's such a clear difference here. Now, this is also incredible. And look, this is coming from a guy, I'm a big Bernie Sanders supporter, right? There's his picture right there, or his painting. Kamala Harris raised, or should the campaign raised, $81 million in the first 24 hours as a candidate. This is largely small dollar donors. So the reason I pointed to Bernie there is he was massive when he came to small dollar donations. He didn't take any corporate money at all. This is incredible. This showcases, it isn't just about the money, right? When it comes to a presidential election, people know it's one of two choices. This money, I think, is largely important for not necessarily just Kamala Harris, but down ballot races, Democrats generally. But what this showcases me, or shows me, is the energy that is now being generated because of this candidacy. So as they write here, Sunday ranked as the third largest single day in Act Blue's history. The third largest single day fundraising in their history. And they break it down further here, showing that the campaign said 888,000 donors had contributed on her first or in her first day, 60% of whom were making their first contribution. And the campaign signed up 43,000 of those donors to make recurring donations as well. And they go on to write, ACTBLU had processed more than 90 million in the same 24-hour period. So I'm a little confused about the actual number, because they're saying 81 million, even though ACTBLU shows 90 million on the back end. It's possible that they need to, wait to verify some of that stuff. But regardless, massive amount of fundraising here from donors that, again, is showcasing an energy that simply was not there before for Joe Biden. And on top of that, volunteers. So Nevada's one example that I saw pop up, but I imagine this is similar across other states. Nevada campaign sees more enthusiasm, volunteers after Biden withdrawal. The Now Harris campaign recruited more than 600 volunteers on Sunday, 4 times as many as typical for its election efforts. This is going to get us to the next thing. So Sahil here, Progressive Voice, he asked for the rational national bump, but I'm sorry, bud, I got to do it in this way, where I'm going to criticize his argument here. So it isn't just him. Some people are bringing up the fact that Kamala Harris, up to this point, is only doing slightly better than Joe Biden in polling. So this is, as one example, Trump is leading a lot of these polls. CNN polls closer, Data for Progress a little closer, but, I think there are some where she is leading. So Reuters tied for Data for Progress, another one. Mayor's poll, Harris is up. So, but largely Trump is leading in these polls. People need to understand. So first, let me just get to part of his argument here, saying there's not much room for change. It's not like she's 2016 Bernie coming out of nowhere. Everyone already knows her. The polls are in the 90s in terms of some, whereas the Shapiro, speaking of Josh Shapiro, one example was in the 80s, so his announcement could have more impact. This is the thing, though. She hasn't run a campaign. The campaign this polling is all before these announcements, right? Even though, yes, people are aware of her, what is being largely underestimated, as I wrote here, is that this isn't as much about her as it's about the excitement around not Biden. So, on one hand, of course, first of all, let's be clear. Anyone who is not actually running as a candidate is going to not poll as well as they could if they were actually running and people thought they were a realistic option. But on top of that, you also have this reality now where people are seeing that she can actually be elected. This is somebody who is not Joe Biden, who, regardless of how you may have felt about her before, and I've criticized back in 2020, plenty of criticisms about Kamala Harris in terms of a Democratic primary against other Democrats. But in this scenario, with 4 months left of the election, her against Trump, there isn't even a discussion there. Obviously, Kamala Harris deserves your support. So the excitement, I think, is going to be with the exact voters that Joe Biden has lost, particularly with young people who had just lost all confidence in Joe Biden, especially over the past, since last October, with his continued support of a maniacal Israeli government. There is a lot of room for Harris to grow simply because there is going to be, as there is now, this excitement in the air that better things are possible. Not saying a perfect world's going to happen, but better things are possible. And to break some of Harris's record or where she may stand on some of these issues down, Jeff Stein breaks down here, my way too early impressions of Harris on economic policy based on a few calls and reporting. So Harris is apparently very close with labor, which is news to me. I did not know this. Opted out of the LA hotel in solidarity with worker strike in 2023 and out of TV interview due to writer strike, particularly allied with SEIU care / economy advocates. Think of childcare, elder care, home care parts of BBB as likely priority. Has worked to cultivate ties with building trades as well. Widely seen at White House as strongly backing student debt cancellation and initiatives on medical debt. Wouldn't expect her to walk away from those commitments. In line with Biden on proposed safety net expansions, key action as VP here, working with states to boost Medicaid coverage of postpartum care. On trade, she criticized TPP and NAFTA and was rare member to vote against USMCA. Also said she was not a protectionist Dem, still sort of TBD in my opinion. Seems largely in line with Biden slash median Dem otherwise on most issues, taxing billionaires, housing supply expansion, whatever. Harris is to the left of Joe Biden. And that applies to every issue. She, I should say, to be clear, at the very least, she is where Joe Biden is on an issue, but if she isn't, then she is to the left of where he is on that issue. This is only going to help her with the constituency that she needs to get out to vote to win the election. Young people, marginalized communities. This is going to help generate the excitement that she needs to win. I am feeling a little hopeful. It's important not to get too confident in any situation, especially, 4 months out from an election. But I'm feeling hope in a way that I have not felt for a long time. I feel like this is what the world needs. The world needs some stability. The falling into fascism with a guy who still denies the fact that he lost the last election is not a great place to go, obviously. And now there's a candidate that I think can actually beat him.